Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Be a Better You podcast. I am your host, Allison K. Dagny, and I am so happy that you are here today. I've been really trying to think about another topic that I could bring to you with a very powerful tip to help you when it comes to recovering from emotional abuse and narcissistic abuse. Today, we're going to be talking about when seeing the good becomes self-abandonment. And the purpose of this is to highlight the hidden link between overthinking, rumination, attachment wounds, and emotional abuse. So, the first thing that I want to talk about is this lie that we were taught growing up. And if you grew up with emotional chaos in your life, chances are you turned into an expert in looking for the good in people. And what I'm talking about specifically is like if people were saying to you, oh, just look on the positive side, and oh, just don't be so negative, and there's good in everyone, right? A lot of this comes from not only our nuclear family upbringing, but it can also come from the churches and the societies, the cultures that we've been brought up in, right? So we're being inundated with expectations, perceptions, and beliefs from all different places. Even if you grew up in, let's say you were in a community and you were hanging out with your friends, you may have even heard things from your friends' parents. You may have heard things from teachers, like whatever that is being absorbed by the little minds of children from the day they were born until up about 8 years old. When they say kids are sponges, this is what they mean, right? They're taking it all in. So this episode isn't about blaming anybody for ruminating. It's definitely not about blaming you for ruminating, okay? Because if you are overthinking, you are ruminating, I'm going to explain to you why that is. But it's about revealing why your brain isn't going to shut off. Like even when you know that another person is wrong for you. So here's what I mean by this. If you are, let's say, in a relationship with someone, or have a friendship with someone, or a work partner, or a parent, or something like that, and you can't shut off the noise when it comes to that other person, meaning maybe you're feeling anxious, maybe you're feeling guilty, maybe you're feeling worried about your interaction with this person, or why they haven't responded to you, or what their behavior means, or why they used that tone, right? If those kinds of things are happening, chances are you're ruminating, chances are you're overthinking it, chances are you're questioning things and you've got all of these thoughts like swirling through your mind, okay? And I want to talk about how when we are focused on seeing the good in others, this becomes self-abandonment, and it also creates this pattern of ruminating that won't turn off. So in this episode, we're going to explore, one, how this pattern is formed, why it's so hard to break it, and I'm going to give you one powerful shift that you can start to make today to start to break free from it. Okay, so the first thing I want to go over is, why do we see the good in others so much, right? Even when it hurts. And I feel like a lot of people who are victims of emotional abuse are so empathetic. And a lot of people may even resonate with the word empath. Like I've even heard lots of even my clients say, like, I'm an empath. And I think this is because when we have been trained, conditioned, brainwashed, whatever you want to call it, in a certain manner by whomever it is that was inflicting the emotional abuse on us, we often are still desiring that connection. We're often still really yearning for that intimacy and love with that other person, even when it hurts us, Okay, we're still trying to get that connection. This goes back all the way to childhood. So if you had a parent, a caregiver, or maybe both parents, right? Whomever it is, who was loving to you one day, but then not loving, maybe even cruel, maybe unavailable to you the next day, what you learned is that connection with others requires your flexibility or your compromise, right? So you had to really look hard to find the consistency because it didn't exist. Okay? So again, let's go back to this thought of like growing up in a household where maybe one minute you got affirmations and love and praise, and then the next minute you got something very, very different. And that is very confusing and creates a sense of cognitive dissonance in the child. This can also happen in adulthood, right? If you're in a relationship with someone as an adult and they treat you that way, same thing, right? But what we're trying to do is we're trying to look really, really hard to find the overall good when maybe sometimes it's not as obvious to see. Okay? I'll just put it like that. But here's the thing. That's actually not like optimism, how people think about it. Oh, just be positive. Oh, just be more optimistic. Oh, just look for the good in them, right? It's survival. And I've heard this before from other people who are not trauma informed, which I find very disheartening to give advice or make comments on victim situations if you don't have a trauma-informed background. But I've heard it said before, and maybe you've heard this too, oh, well, your parents did the best they could with what they had in the moment. And though that might be true, it's an extremely invalidating and harmful statement to somebody who's been through emotional abuse, okay? I mean, my ex emotionally abused me, and if someone said, well, oh, I'm sure he was doing his very best when he was emotionally abusing you, right? It's like, really? Like, were they? I don't know. Like, I really don't think so. If that's their best, that's not very good, okay? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is not helpful to survivors of abuse, for one. And I want you to know that I do not think that. I do not believe that. I believe that that can be extremely, like, I guess bypassing is the word. It makes people uncomfortable when other people are uncomfortable. And that's not up to you to manage that discomfort. It's not up to you to change how other people feel or manage other people's emotions. And I know I sort of just went on a tangent about this, but let me explain why that I brought that up. Because even when other people outside of you, and sometimes self-proclaimed helpers, coaches, even therapists, say things like they were doing their best, or try to get you to see, oh, well, they really loved you, or whatever that might be, what that does is it continues to reinforce the programming that you should be focused on the positive. You should be looking at the good, right? Now, I am all about positivity. I think it's important to hold definitely like high vibrational frequencies. I know it helps you, and I even utilize specific tools in my one-on-one coaching programs to help people shift out of negativity if they want to feel better. So I am in no way saying that you shouldn't be positive. That's not what this is about. But one, we have to be realistic, okay? Because if you're not being realistic and you are bypassing the truth, then what you're actually doing is abandoning yourself, and you are allowing for rumination and overthinking to take hold. Okay. Now, I definitely want to introduce attachment wounds. Like, if you're not familiar with attachment theory, you may want to look this up and learn about it. And that could be something for a totally new, different episode. But essentially, when you're a child and your basic emotional needs were not consistently met, then you adapted to staying hyper attuned to intermittent or crumbs of affection or approval, those kinds of things, okay? So when your basic emotional needs were not consistently met. So that's what I'm talking about earlier, where I said, like, some days they were really proud of you and like happy, and then other times they didn't want to have anything to do with you, or they didn't have time for you, or even worse, maybe were cruel to you. So this is where it starts. It actually starts way before adulthood. It starts really, really early in life, not in adulthood, not typically even with your ex, like as you're in your like first relationship, or, you know, abusive relationships as an adult, but really with the people who are supposed to love you the most. These are where these attachment wounds really start. So this could look like, let's say, like a woman who stayed in a really toxic relationship because she was giving the benefit of the doubt to her husband. Like, well, he's a really good dad, or, well, he just had a really rough childhood, right? Even though she knew that he was bad for her, knew that he was maybe bad for the family, the kids, whatever, knew that she was unsafe. That's what I'm talking about. Another example of this could be if you're an adult who has a parent who's extremely emotionally immature, or maybe really abusive, narcissistic, emotionally abusive, whatever that is, yet you keep finding yourself saying, well, but they're my mom, or, well, but they're my dad, and, well, I know that they truly love me and they're doing the best that they can, right? It's that bypassing again. So it's not a bad thing to look for the good, okay? That's not what I'm saying at all, so please don't get that confused. What is a bad thing is when you compromise your own mental and emotional well-being because you're just looking for the good, okay? That's when it becomes detrimental to you. Now, I mentioned cognitive dissonance, and if you're not familiar with the term, I will explain what it is, but essentially it's when you have two conflicting thoughts that both feel true at the same time, right? But they can't be, right? Like, he loves me and he lies to me, right? You have these, like, you're stuck in this like limbo state. Like, I know this person cares about me, but they are mistreating me. Like, it's like your brain can't get on board, because these are two like opposite spectrum kinds of thoughts at the same time, but maybe they feel true. And it creates this really uncomfortable feeling inside of you because your brain can't hold both of those thoughts. So it starts rationalizing the bad behavior just to maintain the connection, right? Because it's almost like trying to remove one of those thoughts by overcompensating for the other, if that makes sense. So the subconscious mind, as I've said many, many times on this podcast, and maybe you're familiar, is responsible for about 95% of the way that you feel and the way that you think and how you behave, right? All 95%. That's a big, big chunk, okay? It doesn't care. It doesn't care like what's actually right for you. It cares what's familiar to you. So if chaos feels familiar to you, it's going to look for more of that. It's going to look for more chaos. If you were taught to look for intermittent love, or crumbs, like breadcrumbing kinds of behaviors, right? That's what your brain is going to look for more of, and it may reject things that don't look like that. It may reject more steady, consistent, healthy behaviors from people as you go forth in your life with other adult relationships. Now, the other thing I talk about is this reticular activating system, and and this is your filter, okay? This is how you filter in information from the world, because if you didn't have this part of your brain, it would be like on overload. So it's literally filtering out all the things that you don't need in the moment, okay? So if you keep filtering reality through a belief like, well, people can change, or people deserve second and third and fourth and fifth chances, or if I was just better, maybe that they would treat me better, right? If that's what's happening, then you are going to believe that and then act accordingly, okay? So if you're believing people can change, you are going to keep giving multiple chances, but what is often happening is those people can't change, and then you end up just punishing yourself because you are continuing in the relationship with somebody who continues to mistreat you. So even after a fight, you hyper-focus on maybe the one or two things nice that they did afterward. Oh, well, they apologized, they brought me flowers, yada, yada, right? Not really focusing on the bad behavior, the screaming, the abuse, the blame, the manipulation, the lies, like whatever that was. You may end up just putting your focus back on the positive things. But what's happening there is that it's creating a place for you where you're living in this state of cognitive dissonance and ruminating. And why ruminating? Because you're going to be trying to look for proof and evidence to get yourself out of that cognitive dissonance. So when, oh, they were screaming and yelling at me, but they did all these nice things for me, so they must love me too, your brain is going to be searching to try to make sense of all the confusion. And this is how rumination begins, right? The mind spins, it starts swirling, it starts questioning and wondering, and not to really understand, but to feel safe, because you might think that helping yourself understand or have the answers is really going to make you feel better, but truthfully, that's not what's happening. What's really happening is your brain goes into problem-solving mode, okay? So it's thinking things like, if I can just understand why they did that, then I can avoid it from happening again. Or if I can just figure out what I did wrong, I can fix it, and then they'll treat me better. Or if I can just find one missing piece, then everything will be okay. And this isn't just overthinking, right? This is your nervous system trying to avoid the pain or the suffering or whatever it is. Your brain is wired for predictability because predictability equals survival. But here's the big problem, and this is where we insert rumination, because your brain thinks that more answers equal more safety. But what it's actually doing is feeding the rumination loop, and here's why. Because most of the questions that your brain is asking after you've been hurt or after trauma, they do not have satisfying answers. Here's what I mean. If you were wondering why someone mistreated you, and you were just questioning over and over why, and you came to find out that that person had been treated similarly when they were a kid, maybe they were abused, maybe they were homeless, maybe they had their own deep trauma, right? Well, that doesn't excuse the fact that they treated you the way they did, right? So understanding is one thing, right? But that's not really a satisfying answer, because you could find all kinds of other answers to say why that shouldn't have happened. Like, well, okay, you were mistreated that way, then why did you decide to mistreat me that way? That doesn't make any sense, right? So your brain is trying to make sense of things that don't make sense. There are no real good answers that are actually going to make you feel better, because you were hurt and you were abused. And this loop actually just keeps you tied to that person or to the event or whatever that hurt you, because you're not really looking for the facts, because you can probably figure those out, right? You're looking for relief from the emotional pain, and your brain is really trying to think its way out of something that truly just needs to be felt and processed and not answered. Okay? So, an example of this would be like, let's say that your friend or your ex or someone ghosted you or like got really mad and exploded over something really small. Well, your brain goes, well, why would they do that? What did I say? You know, was it something I did? Were they ever even real with me to begin with? You know, and hours later, you're still thinking about it. And you're not any closer to the answer. You're not really even feeling safe. Like, what if they explained it to you and said, well, I did it because I was mad, or I did it because I was hurt by you, right? That doesn't change the behavior. Like, it's already happened. They already inflicted the wound. If they exploded, or if they, ignored you, gave you the silent treatment or whatever, right? So like, you're still in your head over it, and you're not any closer to that feeling of safety, because the safety does not come from knowing why this, why that, right? We can dig down to the whys till the cows come home. That's what therapy does. You want to find out why, go to therapy, and your therapist will tell you why. Oh, this, that, trauma, blah, 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 right? There is some benefit in understanding the why, but that's not what actually changes you. That's not how you get out of ruminating, right? That's not how you stop self-abandoning. It comes from deciding and choosing and knowing that mistreatment of any kind does not require an explanation to be valid, right? You were mistreated and you were hurt. The reason doesn't matter. It doesn't. And the more you keep trying to find the reason, and the more you keep trying to question it, and your brain keeps trying to come up with the answers, the more you get stuck in rumination. Because what you're doing is you're creating a thought habit, and that thought habit becomes automatic. Because again, your brain has a job to do, and it's trying to make life easy for you. So if you think about it enough times, you question it enough times, it's going to put it on autopilot for you, so you don't have to constantly think about it. So you'll think about it as soon as you wake up. You'll think about it during the day. You'll think about it as you're falling asleep. You'll probably even think about it while you're dreaming. Or it'll come up in some sort of fashion from your subconscious. So instead of asking, like, why did they treat me this way? Ask yourself this instead. What part of me thinks I need to understand this in order to heal, in order to move on? Or you could even ask yourself, how can I give myself the safety that I was looking for from them? Okay? And inside my $15 break free from rumination course, yes, $15, 15, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes self-paced online course that you can do. And it actually gives you these root causes, helps you understand it, and teaches you how to interrupt these thoughts that are looping so that you can begin the process to break free from rumination, right? This is a really good learning tool to help you get started if you are someone who just can't get the thoughts to stop. So you can grab that on my website or from the link in the bio in the show notes. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, I want to go through the price that you have to pay for being in this state of optimism or hope or, believing people can change. And again, I do believe people can change, right? I do. I really, really do. But we also have to be realists when it comes to what we know, instead of hanging on to the things that we want, desire, and hope for, okay? So let's just be honest about that. Hope, desires, wants, it would be nice if, right? That can become a trap for you. Because when you keep waiting for somebody to change, you're just chipping away at your own self. This is, probably why I spent 20 years in a marriage that was no good for me, right? Because, maybe he'll be nice next time. Oh, well, sometimes he's nice, so maybe he can be nice, a little bit more, right? So there is this like second guessing yourself, that's that cognitive dissonance piece. You know, maybe you're like playing out imaginative conversations about how you'd like the other person to show up for you, how you'd like them to talk to you. Maybe you're even questioning yourself, like maybe I'm the problem, or maybe I'm narcissistic, right? So those kinds of things also reinforce rumination, because you're in your mind thinking about it all the time in all these different ways, not just questioning, not just hoping for, playing. You could even be playing out imaginative scenarios about how you want them to be, the hope of change, and like, oh, they can be good, right? So here's a hard truth that I want you to hear. But, and I mentioned this before, the empaths and the empathy, and like I'm an empathetic person and all of that. It's wonderful. It's great. They're great traits to have, but I'm not here to sugarcoat. I'm just going to tell you straight. Self-abandonment can often be disguised as empathy. I'm going to say it again, and I'll say it in a different way. Abandoning yourself can often be disguised as empathy. Okay, I'm not saying you're not an empathetic person, but some people will actually betray themselves and abandon themselves and just say, well, I'm just a really empathetic person. Well, you know, I just see the good in people. Okay? So let's call it what it is. And it's not that you can't let go of whatever you're attached to, person, you know, toxic relationship, whatever. It's really about that you're still trying to win a game that you never wanted to play in the first place. And I remember exactly how this felt. I could let go. I did let go. It took me a long time, right? But I was trying to win at a game that I got drawn into that I never ever wanted to play. That's kind of like backwards thinking. And for me, this was a very high price to pay. Because again, 20 years, right? Of a lot of abuse, self-doubt, crazy making, you name it, right? Now, I want to give you a powerful reframe. This is a tip that you can take with you today to help you make a shift, okay? Instead of asking, did they mean it, right? Like if the person, I don't know, did something really rude or disrespectful or whatever, and you're like, oh, maybe they didn't mean it, or they didn't mean it, or I'm sure they didn't mean it, right? Instead of asking that, start changing the thought pattern to, did it hurt me? Period. Okay? And put your focus there. Because intention doesn't matter when you already got hurt, right? If you back out of your driveway and you run over your neighbor's dog and kill it, and you said, oh, I didn't mean it, it doesn't bring the dog back. It doesn't make things better. It doesn't help the person feel less pain. Of course, you didn't mean it, right? But it doesn't help. It doesn't change the situation, right? So instead of you asking, well, maybe they didn't mean it or they didn't mean it, and giving all these concessions for people's bad behavior, maybe put the focus on, did it hurt me? Okay? If it did hurt you, then you can think about what's next, right? You get to choose your behavior going forward after that. Now, I'm a big proponent of honoring your emotions. If you feel hurt, honor that. Did it hurt me? Yes, it hurt me, right? Do you have to stay in that hurt for a long time? No. You honor that feeling, you allow it to move through your body, and then you can shift it, right? Because you can't change what other people do. But if they did hurt you, instead of, right, this is all about like, us not self-abandoning, which creates rumination. Okay? So instead of focusing on what their intention was, really bring it back to you. Did it hurt you? Right? Whether they say they didn't mean it or not. You don't need to psychoanalyze other people's intentions. Okay? You need to honor your reality. What is true for you? Right? And hopefully people who you love and care about and who love and care about you step up and honor you and apologize for hurting you and being sincere about the things that they've done without excuses, intentions, kind of sugarcoating it all, right? No, I screwed up. I hurt you. I was wrong. That should have never happened. This is not your fault. I did this, right? That's what we need to hear. Not excuses. And we don't need to be questioning those intentions either. This is how we come closer to people, not further away. So for you, try to put the focus back on you instead of trying to ruminate on if they meant it or if they could change or if they deserve 15,000 chances, right? How did you feel because of it? What did they do that created a feeling inside of you, right? Now, the next step after that would be to feel the emotion and then think about what the thoughts are that are creating that to pull you out of that. But right now we're just like, that would be a different layer. Right now we're just specifically talking about how to stop the ruminating about it, right? Did they mean it versus did it hurt me, right? Because if you're ruminating about, oh, maybe this and they didn't really mean to hurt me and yada, 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 all the things, right? You're going to get pulled back into that loop again, over and over and over and over and over again. Same thing happens, rinse and repeat. It's just a repetitive cycle, all right? Here's one thing that you can put in an affirmation, it has a reminder come up on your phone, put it on a Post-it note, and you can write this down or just remember it. I don't need proof to trust my pain. I don't need proof to trust my pain, right? You know how you feel, and you don't have to ignore your feelings, stuff your feelings, make other people comfortable, make other people happy, right? Find excuses, find, what their real intentions are or why they did it. That's the stuff that keeps you in this loop of rumination. Pull the focus back on you. Did it hurt me? And I don't need proof to trust my pain. And it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be in pain. It's okay to be hurt, right? What we don't want to do is stay in that victim mode for too long. We want to feel and honor those emotions and then get out of it, which of course, this is what I help my clients do. We make sure that we stop the rumination and then we dig deeper. This is layers and layers and layers of stuff that we're getting to. So if you do take my Break Free from Rumination course, just know $15 course is like the mini introduction to the work that I do, like tip of the iceberg. If you want to get deep, that's going to be my 12-week program, okay? So just to understand the difference here, we're not getting real deep in this $15 course, but it is going to help you understand and give you tools to stop ruminating, just like this podcast is, okay? So let me just ask you this. What if you stop looking for the goodness where it hurts, right? We just talked about it hurt me, like I'm hurt. What if you stop looking for the good? What if you stop looking for it all the time? Okay? Goodness is not a bad thing, right? We all know that. And I'm not trying to say, I need to make this clear. I'm not trying to say we shouldn't think positive. We shouldn't look on the good, bright side. No, I'm not saying that at all. But it's important to understand that if you are constantly doing that, giving concessions, looking for the good, always bypassing how you feel, right? Getting stuck in this place of cognitive dissonance, just know you will likely continue the rumination spiral. It will just become your brain habit. And if you want to get out of it, you have to start looking at things differently. You have to start thinking about things differently. Okay? Remember, these are patterns that began in early childhood. probably from one or more of your caregivers. And what happens is you adopt these things because it helped you either feel a sense of control or safety in the moment, okay? And the subconscious mind gets stuck on repeating these patterns for you. It thinks it's helping because you have established a habit in your mind. But you can change those habits. That's the good news, right? Our brains have neuroplasticity, and we can absolutely change these things. I've done it. My clients do it all the time. Okay? So the seeing the good all the time for a lot of people has meaning of abandoning yourself. I'm going to look for the good in others and therefore sacrifice myself, abandon myself, abandon my needs, sacrifice my needs, let it go, right? Oh, they love me. Oh, it's okay, right? And you question and you ruminate and you spiral, and then you can't stop. And then you're stuck in this pattern. But again, you can break the pattern. Not overthinking, right? You can't think your way out of this. And not by waiting for other people to change, but by putting the focus back on you. That's where it all begins. It's you focusing on yourself. So if you want to focus on yourself, start with that $15 course. Join my community. Schedule a free consultation with me. Explore my one-on-one coaching program. Like whatever it is that you feel called to, trust your instincts, trust your gut. Go with what you feel is right for you. Okay? I hope this episode has been helpful to you. I hope that if you did see yourself in any of the things that I mentioned, if this is a habit that you find that you're in, if you're in this like subconscious sabotage loop that's happening constantly, if you're always looking for the good in others and you feel like you're sacrificing yourself, chances are you're going to be stuck in this ruminating kind of thinking pattern. And there's nothing wrong with you. It's just a brain program, okay? And just like a computer, you can reprogram a computer. You can rewire a computer. You can do the same thing to your brain. Now, you will need tools that work. You will need tools that have been proven to change people's lives, like the ones that I use, and not just like talking about it and asking why, that kind of stuff. That's not what I do. That is not what I do. The why to me is like, don't care about the why. Let's get to the how. Like, how are we going to fix this? What do I need to do? How can I change this? I'm an action taker. I have a long history of being able to take direction well. I remember with my therapist even saying to her, tell me what to do, like after every session. And she'd be like, well, and she'd give me very fluffy, vague things. And it just was not enough for me. I knew there was something better out there, and I was right, and I found it. So again, I hope this has been helpful to you. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to message me on Instagram. I love hearing from my listeners. You can just find me at Allison K. Dagny, and you can send me a message. If you're not following me, you can follow me, but I do check the other messages if you're not following me, so I will see those at some point. But I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you thought about the episode. If you want to leave me a review. That really, really helps creators like me and coaches like me to help other people get the word out, to help as many people as possible. So thanks again, and I hope you guys really put yourselves first. I hope you take action in your lives and you're focused on being the best versions of yourselves that you can. And I'll talk to you next week.